on to game 2. This opening hand seems fine. I have the Cultivate to get my Swamp for my Doomblade. He's on the play. First couple turns are pretty boring as far as I recall. I draw a second Cultivate, and this is probably the game where I realize how terrible it is to draw both Cultivates, because I don't believe I cast the other one for the entire game. So, we play our lands. Nothing happens for a while. He goes turn 3 Rock Egg. I do nothing about that, although it will probably, I believe it does slow me down, especially as I draw Garruk's Companion, however that's pronounced. So I think here, it's like I probably just play the Cloud Elemental. I play the Cloud Elemental so I can start getting in some damage. Thinking next turn I'll probably just Cultivate, so I can ramp up to do the nothing that's in my hand. He has turn 4 Forcey, which I believe he actually has every game. Again, he goes bottom, bottom, top, top. I rip Crystal Ball, which is just fantastic. But that leaves me with an actual decision to make this turn. But whether or not I Cultivate this turn or play the Crystal Ball, I end up choosing to Cultivate. At least I, correctly play or do not play a land until after I Cultivate, so that this turn he won't know what's in my hand at all. I mean, not like that's particularly relevant when I'll still have 6 cards in hand at end of turn, but whatever. I might have wanted to play the Crystal Ball there, but I figured, get the mana ramp up so I can Crystal Ball into things. He plays Sarah. We all know what's happening next turn. I'm just going to Doomblade it, because my deck can't beat Sarah Angel, but I'm sad to lose the Doomblade now. This is probably why I ended up sideboarding in Call to Mind in the future, because I only have the one Doomblade to deal with things. I have my answers to Sarah Angel are Doomblade, Ice Cage, which is not a great answer to it because people always have targeting effects in Sealed, it seems, or attacking with a creature or blocking with a creature and giant growthing it. So I'd play the Crystal Ball, wait to end of his turn to scry, just to get all the information I can. I'm feeling pretty good at this point, since I'm not facing down really any pressure. Here he Jace's Ingenuities for 3 cards. Plays more planes. I scry at end of turn. I look at both these cards. Both these cards are good. I believe I put them back in the same order they were. Air Servant is obviously great. Ether Adept is much more conditional, but I figure it's probably good here. So I, of course, play Air Servant after attacking. Not sure why I was hovering over Garruk's Companion there. I debate about which mana to leave open, just to, what tricks am I bluffing? I decide to bluff Giant Growth. Probably bluffing Diminish / Unsummon is stronger, but I'm terrible, so. And he kabooms the board with Day of Judgment, if memory serves, which is great for him in his mind because he'll have a 3/3 flyer from Rock Egg. But again, in my, just utter luck, I have left the Ether Adept on the top of my deck, which will eliminate his bird next turn. So I still scry at end of turn, of course. Allows me to put the forest at the bottom. Ether Adept goes back on the top. This turn's pretty straightforward. Play the Ether Adept, bounce that, and then play Garruk's Companion. I tap probably stupidly here. I probably should have tapped, obviously, the Swamp here for the Ether Adept so that I can just run out everything in my hand and get 2 more lands out of my library. But terrible, not thinking ahead. At least this lets me scry. And this is why I never cast Cultivate for the entirety of this game. I later justify it to myself because, or I later, justify not playing it because, I don't want to mess up what I've done to the bottom of my library. I don't want to, shove all my lands back into my library after I've sent them to the bottom repeatedly. So he plays Siege Mastodon, which is a pain. I scry 2 forests to the bottom, untap scry, see a giant spider. It's kind of right here. It doesn't, get me through anything. So I send it to the bottom. And I rip an Air Servant, which is, me being awesome. Unfortunately, if memory serves, he has a Lightning Bolt, which makes me a sad panda. Bye, Air Servant. At this point I'm thinking, I haven't really done much damage to him. I'm not sure what my plan is other than, scry through my deck with Crystal Ball and hope he hasn't already drawn Arbiter and won't draw Arbiter at all before I have the ability to kill him. It's, probably an unlikely play, or an unlikely chance, especially because, hey, sup, Arbiter. So now I scry looking for, I don't even know what at this point, as my outs to Arbiter are Giant Growth, which I now shove to the bottom of my library, plus a blocker. More like plus 2 blockers because my only guys who can block Angelic Arbiter with more than 2 power are dead. So that's probably why I shipped it. So at this point I'm looking for the combination of Ether Adept plus Cancel. So I foresee, I think about what land I should leave up. And here's where I'm justifying not, here's where I'm, not having myself cast Cultivate this turn because, I shipped 2 lands to the bottom. So I send pretty much everything to the bottom there, except Awakener Druid, because I can cast it this turn. And I rip Harbor Servant off the top, which is really strong here. Unfortunately, it's going to take me a few turns before I can get it into play. So I animate a forest. I don't really know why I do this. It's not particularly relevant here. I probably should have bottomed Awakener Druid, but I think I was probably planning on swarming around his Siege Mastodon, which is a terrible play because he still has 4 cards in hand, and he's probably going to continue to add to the board. So he swings in, knocks me down to 15. I forget what he plays here. Oh, right. Foresee number 2. At this point, I'm rolling in my eyes at his nice cards comment from sideboarding, but plays a Juggernaut, which is, it's good that I have the forest now. Well, that's what I at least initially think, and obviously you can see that because I just said it now. But Garrick's Companion will actually be useful, as it'll trade with it next turn. I scry. I leave Auguriel on top because I figure it's a chump blocker, so it buys me a turn. And I play Auguriel here for some reason. Why do I play Auguriel there for some reason? That seems just awful. I'm still in I'm still in answer Angelic Arbiter mode instead of race Angelic Arbiter mode. Looking back at this, I can definitely see that, going Harbor Servant this turn, Auguriel next turn is definitely the stronger play, because it will both allow me to dig farther through my deck and will allow me to start racing with an unblockable creature. So there's a mistake for you. Learn to race, not to find answers when you have the ability to potentially race. Because at this point I still have one chump blocker left in my library. No, two, but I've bottomed the giant spider. So one that's coming up, two if I cultivate, which I don't. Because again, I say, oh, well, I've shipped a couple lands to the bottom of my library, why shuffle them back in? Even though it's only two, and yeah. So he outrages my owl, which, is sad for me because that means I don't even get to block with it. Swings in with the Juggernaut, I chump with Garrick's Companion. They trade. Next turn I could be hitting him for 5 and sending him to 9, but for some reason I chose not to do that by not playing the Harbor Serpent. So I draw the Ice Cage that I left on top with Auguriel. Play it on the Arbiter. Hoping that this will get me there, and then I play the Harbor Serpent with my Forest Treefolk. However, this game is done because he has Armored Ascension. And I'm tapped out, so he has, literally nothing to fear. And I lose. So, on to game 3. Well, on to sideboarding, rather.